Alright, so I'm just starting the thing. I want to see what I have to say, and I don't know. It's been a long time since I sat down and made one of these. Isn't, just anything at all. I hope to put it down to a bit of motivation, uh, a lot of just me not wanting to, frankly, and what with me just kind of wanting to relax. I guess you could say that, I just wanted to do my own thing. Now, as of recently, I've been spending a lot of time on Tumblr, and depending on what you'll tell me, that may have been a bad decision, but I'll take it for what I will. It's okay. It's an okay website. If I really wanted to put something on there and be original, it just isn't the site for me, to be honest. It's good, I guess, for getting in the know and finding out information, but there's so much information, man. And to another extent, there's a lot of fucking opinions. And, while there's a lot of good opinions, there's also a lot of bad ones. And more specifically, there's ones that just, you know, people who want to advocate the murder of people, and it's just like, does it really matter who is saying, oh, this kind of murder is bad, or this kind of murder is worse? Does it matter? If it's murder, it's still murder. Genocide, murder, regicide, any kind of murder is bad murder. Sure, if you're trying to defend yourself and you're trying to defend, other people, it's okay. But a lot of these people are citing defense, but they aren't actually defending anything. They're just pretending to. They're not defending anyone. Like, for instance, you talk about these fucking, these people who call themselves anti-fascists, and they're like, oh, we have to kill all the fascists, we have to punch all the fascists. It's like, who are these fascists you're talking about? And they'll point you out as a fascist, and it's like, well, no. I don't remember advocating for genocide. I don't remember wanting bad things to happen. I don't remember wanting authoritarianism. Sure, maybe I may love my country, but that doesn't mean that I'm a fascist. Having a little dose of, patriotism isn't going to mean that you're a nationalist. And nor does it mean that you're a white nationalist, nor does it mean anything. You probably just like your country because it's a good country. Or at least overall it's a good country. And you just have all these people who want to fucking label you as, oh, you're a fucking Nazi. Fuck you. Just fuck you, man. Like, you obviously don't know anything about Nazis. You probably never met one. I've met a person who, I guess called themselves a Nazi, but their beliefs are really... Every time I've met someone or seen someone who has, even a close thing to Nazism, they're not even remotely close to the previous Nazis. Nazis as they were are not real as they are now. You may have Nazis, but they're not, they're not the same. And even then, the Nazis back then are not what's here. And even then, we don't have Nazis. We don't have them. What we have usually is just people who are pissed off at other people. That's all it is really anymore. There's no real racism except when it's coming from mostly either the other, the left side. There's a lot of racism in the left side. They'll look at you, if you're white, they'll look at you and automatically rank you They'll rank you on a scale of white to fucking black as the night. And if you look white, you're already on the bottom of the rung. If you look like you're able-bodied, you don't got anything wrong with you, and you got a dick, or you look like you got a dick. It doesn't matter if you don't have a dick. If you look like it, then you're already at the bottom of the rung. Now let's say that you are a black as night person. You could be the blackest person in the world. Now they'll look at you, and they'll rank you depending, you know. From there, it becomes a, well, do they act white? That becomes a question that I hear a lot of. You know, it's not even necessarily a said out loud question so much as something that you'll see, you'll hear it, you know, you'll see it in someone's face, in the way they act. You know, when you see a person talk about a person, and you see the way they treat a person. For instance, I have a friend of mine who they're a light Latino, right? And they're treated like trash. You know, there may not be black as night, and so it doesn't necessarily it's not necessarily the same thing as my earlier thing, but they're Latino. They've lived that life. They lived in the city, you know, and they've had to, you know, work for where they are now. And while technically before a lot of drama happened, they were fine and they had a great life, but you know, they kind of stuff happened to them. But on the other hand, keep in mind, before bad stuff started to happen to them, their life was great. They worked themselves up and shit. And the only reason why things are happening is because, well, normal life shit happened. Normal life. You know? And, oh, dear God, this is sounding so incoherent, but I'm just so frustrated. I'm just so mad. People treating, you know, light Latinos like my friend, you know, just because they're light, or if they act a little white, you know, and that's even like a thing. You can act white, or you can act black. That is incredibly racist. Incredibly. And especially when it's, like, acting white is taken as a negative. Oh, you're acting white. This is what I'm talking about, generally, when, like, I don't usually want to get into it with people, and I don't really want to type it out. But this is something I can talk about. Because it's just something that you really can't just type out. How much it pisses me off. How much it just... The idea that you can label a behavior or a thing that someone likes as whatever race. You know? Or you'll like... let's say a person likes, fucking Kesha or whatever. Oh, that's black. You only listen to black music. What? That's also incredibly racist. Or let's say a person listens to Eminem, or fucking, or, I don't fucking know. Let's say they only listen to fucking heavy metal, right? Oh, that's white music. Fuck you. Heavy metal is not an exclusively white person thing. It never was. It never was meant to be. It was just a thing that people did. And you have this thing where it's like, oh, you do this, you're so white. You're acting so white. What are you acting so white for? It's not reverse racism, it's just racism. That's all it is. There's no such thing as reverse racism. There really isn't. Because have you ever really thought about it? The idea of reverse racism, as if the idea of racism started with white people? Like, how far do you think history goes? Do you think history started with the white people, and the white people, you know, talking to the black people, and then the white people were like, ah, you're horrible people? history goes back way farther. There's so much in history. And heck, maybe, let's say that maybe it did start out with white people at first. Well, over time, long periods of time, people, went to other places and they adapted to the environment. Their body started to change gradually, because, in my opinion, I believe there's a God. Our God gave us melanin glands so that, over time, let's say you're in a lot of sun, you start tanning. And that passes on a little by little. The more, you need melanin, the more it passes on to your children. That's the way I see it. Which is why you'll generally have in the United States, when you have black people who breed with white people, generally, the kids get a lot more, a lot more lighter instead of blacker. Because in America, it's a very temperate climate, and people don't generally live out in live outside, like, the natives did. Before, essentially, we took over their land, I guess. And it's just... It's just so much. It's so much bullshit. Sometimes I think I sound insane and I feel insane. I look at the world and how fucking just insane things are. I was born into this world not because I wanted to be, but because, had no choice. I didn't want to be born here. I didn't ask to be born here. I didn't ask to be born with white skin. And I was raised, to respect everyone equally. I was never taught with any race or anything. I never even knew that there was such a thing as racism until I was taught in school about it. I didn't even, until I actually physically felt it and saw it. And I feel like as a result of that, I've made mistakes in my life that, very unfortunate. Because it's only when I'm a bit older in my life, I've started to realize how bad, not even how bad, but how serious a subject racism is. Because of course I know that it's bad, but I never realized how serious it was. And even now, I understand that it's serious, but it's gotten to the point anymore. I don't even remember it being this bad, but now that it is this bad that people are paranoid, what's the word for it? Being so paranoid. You have these people, writing stupid articles like, is it okay for my black kid to play with this white kid? Who? That, I don't know if anyone's ever, I don't know if that guy really thought about how racist that sounds. Or how, put into a different context, how people would be shouting him down. People would have his thing removed. People would have him just fucking... He would be out of a job in any other context. If he said, it's okay for my white kid to play with a black kid, well, people were going to be on his ass so fast before you can say, what's your face? It just feels like a lot of white guilt. And I used to have a little bit of white guilt. I used to look at black people the same way as I feel like a lot of lefties look at black people. With pity. Fucking disgusting. Disgusting pity. It's not even that they truly care. They don't really care. All they care about is, oh, well, I want to just live, but I want to, live and, fuck other people over. Whenever you see someone who, doesn't isn't just bowing down to the black person. It's like, fucking hell, man. It's just, like, let's take the whole situation with PewDiePie. Like, realize that PewDiePie, he comes from fucking Sweden, man. From fucking Sweden. They have not had, you know, a long history to do with black people. And heck, what's going on right now, that's after, you know, Felix already left Sweden. And before then, another thing to keep in mind is that, you know, before all this bullshit to do with the EU and, you know, all these Syrian migrants, there wasn't all that. There wasn't any of that shit. You know? There were little to no black people in Sweden. All you really had was, you know, a bunch of white people and everything, and then you had people like Tyler the Creator come over, and then they start saying shit like, oh, nigga, 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 you know, whatever, right? They just say shit like that. And, like, while I don't personally say the word, and I don't like the word, I don't like the N-word, because the N-word is frankly, like, put into the context of what it was before all this stupid shit to do with it becoming an urbanization thing, and before it was quote-unquote made positive. It never was made positive. It was only made positive for black people. Even then, black people still consider it a negative if a white person says it. It's not a positive. Never was and never will be. Because of these people. You know? It's never going to be a positive. So the way I see it, just don't use the word. On the other hand, like before, it's never meant anything nice. The N-word used to mean, you know, ignorant or, you know, stupid. And they would use that to make fun of the black people. Like, oh, you're a bunch of, you know, N-words, you know? And it's just like, it hurts so much. It really does. And then, like, on top of all this, there's so much that goes on, and people expect you to be paying attention to this or that and the other thing. Buddy, I have fucking ADHD. You know? If I were the representative of if I were personally a representative of the United States, I'd be so fucking swamped in information, I wouldn't know what to do with it. There's so much information out there. You know, if you want to know about, you know, games industry, I could tell you so much shit. Just so much shit. There's so much to know. If you want to know about laws, oh, there's this laws, there's that laws, you know, whatever. There's so many laws. And it's one thing to learn the information, it's another thing to, like, have something to back yourself up. And when there's so much information that you have to back yourself up on, it's like, well, you might as well create a fucking folder, because people are always going to ask you for a source. You know, even if it's something that should be pretty much, it's really easy to look up yourself. And I'm not going to, like, complain and go like, oh, well, you know, that, the person who, you know, accuses someone shouldn't have to go look it up. I feel like if a person accuses another person, you have to do the research. Like, not that you do the research, but the person who does the accusation has to do the research and provide the sourcing. But when it's like, oh, you know, something like, let's say, the Quran, you know? Like, someone says, oh, you know, the Quran says this, and you say, really? Well, I guess I'll go do my own research and figure it out. I'm not going to believe you. Because here's the thing, right? The Quran is a big book of information. Having him source it is like, well, you could just go look it up yourself, dummy. It's the Quran. Or what about, the Bible? You could just look up the fucking Bible. You could look up the place. It's like, oh, the Bible says this and that and the other thing. Really? Where? And then they tell you, and you're like, alright, well, I guess I'll go look at myself. You know? Isn't technically sourcing. It's just like, oh, the Bible. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, I don't even think I made sense there. I don't think I even made a good argument. I think more what I'm complaining about is the fact that generally there's so much arguing, so much shit going on, and it just feels really hopeless. It really does. You know? I'm not going to say that sourcing is a bad thing. Sourcing is a good thing, and that it's generally the responsibility of the person who's providing whatever to source. Because how else is someone going to check you on your information? See, that already makes a lot more sense. I'm not going to cut anything out, by the way. This is completely unedited. I just don't care enough. I'm not even going to put any music to this. This is just going to be me putting up something. Because I know I need to put up something. Otherwise, I'm never going to put up anything. There is something I'm going to be working on. I'm going to sit down and try and maybe I'm going to try and edit some things together, because me and my sister did some really silly shit, and we looked up some silly shit, and I figured I should share that. I made some other thing too. I may have to edit it a little. There's some things, because I wanted to make it like a little bit more professional, but this isn't going to be professional. This isn't that. This is just me getting out my frustrations and talking, because I'm just so tired. I'm tired of not talking. I'm tired of not speaking. I'm tired of constantly having to type out whatever whenever I'm, doing an argument. I'm tired of, just watching things pass me by. Just, being quiet and knowing I can't do anything about it. I know I can't do anything about it still, but at least I can talk about it, At least I have something. At least I'm talking about it and it's making me feel better. I don't know. I don't think wanting free speech makes me a Nazi, because I'm pretty certain it's the opposite. I'm pretty certain a Nazi would not want free speech. And I don't think a Nazi would care if they were, banned from, speaking publicly, because then they would just figure out another way. Like they have forever. The problem is, recently, they've been gaining credibility. Credibility like fucking fire. You wanna know why? Because there's this punch Nazis thing. And then, there's a lot of white people out there who are like, whoa, what do you mean, punch Nazis? And it's like, oh, you're a Nazi because you believe in free speech. What? So then they go look up these people who've been called Nazis, and like, oh, well, there's these people who are called Nazis, and they're just as, they're liberal like I am. Or maybe there's some people who don't know enough, and they're called Nazis because, whatever reason. And they're not even really Nazis. They don't even have anything to do with Nazism. They don't even know what it is. That's, I'd say, the case with a lot of people. Or they don't even really understand the history behind Nazis, or who Hitler was, or what World War II was all about, what World War II was trying to accomplish. And And that's, I'm not trying to say that World War II was like a person or anything that was trying to accomplish anything. No, I mean like what happened in World War II, what was accomplished in World War II by other people, you know? Because to understand Hitler and to understand to a certain extent what he was trying to do in his movement, you would have to look up Mein Kampf. Now, I've read Mein Kampf a little. I think I read the beginning, and then I kind of got bored with it. I should probably read more of it, I guess, but honestly, I don't know. I don't think I want to. It's just so stupid. He's a smart man, and say all the nice things you want about him, but in the end, he is a manipulative and horrible human being. He, sponsored the killings of people, either by neglect or by willfully, ordering it. You know? And people were dying before, and it was happening all the time, but then it really, really revved up. It revved up during the last parts of the war. All the killing, because there was already horrible shit happening, but the Nazis wanted to cover up their tracks. And I guess they didn't do it fast enough because there were a lot of hollow graves that still weren't completely covered over yet. It's just... It's horrible. It's horrible what they've done. I wouldn't want that to anyone. And I definitely wouldn't want to be them. I wouldn't want to be the monster that I hate. And I don't even hate. I just don't want to be that horrible. I just don't like the idea of hating. I don't like the idea of hating a person for what they believe. Sure, they may want to kill me. Whatever, try and do it. Try and kill me. Go right on fucking head. But let me tell you something. I'll fight for my life, and I'll fight for the lives of other people. But people's lives aren't at stake here. That's not what's going on. Sure, what's been going on as of recently is, illegal immigrants. That's what this has all been about. This is what this stemmed from. Illegal immigrants. They're people who are already illegal. They come in here of their own, they made the choice to come here knowing yet, it's illegal. And their reasonings are usually, are fairly illegal themselves. If you remember correctly what President Trump actually said, which was, you have all these rapists and murderers are always coming in, and, and turns out they're illegal immigrants. Who knew? And it's just like, well, the fact that they're Mexican is only tangentially related. Mexicans are not, that's racist to believe that. But that's not what President Trump was talking about. That's not what a lot of people are talking about. They aren't trying to say that Mexicans are all this, or all illegal immigrants are this. And technically you couldn't know. Because illegal immigrants are illegal immigrants. But the thing is, right, they've still broken the law. They need to be out. And on the other hand, there's many, many reasons why they shouldn't be here. They should be taken out. There's many reasons. And one of them is being, let's say if we wanted to bring in the Syrian refugees, well, you have all these other assholes who are just, sitting around and taking up, whatever space, and people want to say, oh, well, illegal immigrants pay taxes. Really? They do? How the fuck do they do that? How do you manage to pay taxes beyond maybe, sales tax Or, let's say you're being paid and, your employer says, oh, I'll do your taxes for you. They don't pay taxes willingly. And they don't do it because I want to. Or nor do they do it because necessarily they care. And hell, they're not even technically being documented. It's just, oh, this other person's kind of doing it for me. Technically, the person's employing them is paying the taxes. And they didn't necessarily do it themselves. You can't be an undocumented immigrant if you do taxes, because you already have documents. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Sure, maybe you pay taxes, accidentally, while you just happen to be doing things, because everyone has to pay sales tax. Whenever you buy something, sales tax is just there. That's just a fact of life. But, and, that argument aside, that's not the important thing. It doesn't matter whether they pay taxes at all. Whether or not they're contributing. It doesn't matter. That's just excuses, frankly. In the end, the fact is they didn't come in here legally, and they're undocumented, and in the end, there's a reason why the borders are patrolled. There's a reason why you document people. The reason is, oh, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with something that happened, oh, I don't know, trying to, remember the exact years. It's 17 years ago? Or 16 years ago? Maybe 9/11? And not even just 9/11, there have been several instances since. Many, many instances. There have been a lot of instances that have been prevented, but there have been instances also since that have not. I don't know, for instance, the recent one in which a person who, was basically saying, oh, I'm doing this for the jihad. Or more specifically, they're yelling Allahu Akbar at the top of their lungs and crashing into people. It was an act of terrorism, not just an act of terrorism, it was an act of terrorism on the behalf of Allah. That's not that's not a mass massacre. Maybe, sure it is, but that's tangential to what it really is, which is terrorism. And people want to go, oh, why aren't you calling this terrorism, where a person goes on a massacre? Well, that's because it's called a massacre and not called terrorism. When a person who just, for unrelated reasons, for no reason whatsoever, no known reason anyway, and they just go out and kill people, that's not terrorism. That's just killing people. That's a massacre. There's words for it. Just because, you think terrorism is all about just killing people, it's not. It's about a reason. There's a meaning behind the killing when it comes to terrorism. When the person goes out and starts, shooting a bunch of people and they start screaming at the top of their lungs, Allahu Akbar, or, or let's say some person says, all blacks must die or something, and they say that. Or they say, white people suck ass, or, stuff like that. Whatever thing they do, and they do it in the name of some kind of ideal or whatever, or let's say some person runs out and says, capitalism is the only way, and they just go out and just kill a bunch of people, right? That's technically terrorism. It's not just a massacre. It's just so much shit. It's so much bullshit. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I feel very, very, very. I just feel so hopeless. I know there's a hope. I know this and I know that, but it just feels hopeless. That's my feeling on this. That's my feels right now. I know in like logically that there's a hope, there's a way, there's a chance. But it doesn't help me when I'm just sitting here and feel I feel like giving up. I feel like everything is just stupid. And in the end, it's not made better when the people that you care about talk about wanting to kill themselves, and it's just like, what the hell? It's just too much for me, man. It's just so much. And especially when you had people that you kind of care about who well, they didn't really kill themselves, but they died. They died, and the and 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 the last thing they had to say to you was how much they liked your voice. It's so much too much for me. It's just it's so much. Especially when people want to tell you that your feelings are fucking, they don't mean anything. Your experiences don't mean shit. Well, fuck you. I've experienced a lot of my life, I wasn't born with a fucking silver spoon. I didn't not experience things. I experienced a lot. I may not have achieved a lot in my life, but that doesn't matter. I've experienced quite a bit. I've experienced that pain of wanting to kill yourself, and I've experienced the pain of not wanting to kill yourself yet not being able to, because you made a promise. I've experienced that feel when people just fucking betray you, when people just fucking talk behind your back and treat you like shit, when people treat you like shit because of your skin, when people just fucking make fun of you, because you can't do something. I've understood that. Want to know why? Because I've experienced life. I wasn't born with a fucking silver spoon. And, I mean, technically you could say that over the years I've gotten good things. Yeah, sure. I've gotten good things because my dad worked really hard for them. My dad worked really hard. He started out from the bottom. Literally. He started out as like a E1, like everyone else did in the army, and he worked his way up. And then my mom started out as like a nurse. None of them had much of anything, and they had to actively rely on their parents for shit. And then throughout the times in which I've been alive, we've had to, always kind of make do with things and just kind of rely off of, help. And heck, at the same time, while I love my sister dearly. It's just at the same time, it's like, well, she's grown up in a time in which we have had better things. We had like in which things have been better. And while technically she also caught the tail end of bad things happening, but you know, she didn't necessarily have to live in a time in which she had to be refused things because or that you had to bite your tongue because like, all right, well, I may want this thing, but like, I know we can't afford it. Which is why generally, these days when my parents can afford things, they're like, oh, we don't know what to get you for your birthday or whatever. And it's just like, well, I'm just so used to not talking about things, I'm so used to not wanting to bother people. And Birdie's, oh, she's not afraid to ask for things she wants, and that's okay. You have to ask for help if you want something. But for me, it's just like, well, I don't want people to be bothered. I don't want to waste. I don't want to be a waste of space. You know. And I mean, that feeling of not wanting to be a waste of space is a big reason for how I feel right now, which is, I can't help. I'm not. I'm completely helpless to do anything up to help the situations that are going on now, other than provide the shit that I believe in. Or let's say if I really wanted to do all the paperwork, I guess I could, write into my local congressman and maybe hope that he'll do something. I don't know. I don't believe in New Jersey. I don't want to be in New Jersey anymore. That's all I want to know. That's all I know anymore. And the good thing is that soon I'm not going to be in New Jersey anymore. That's all I'm really happy about. And you know what? Uh, I'm not going to say that I've had to, you know, that I've been completely doing without, but to a certain extent, I did kind of have to go through that life of, having to just kind of be quiet for things, having to do without, well, technically I've had to do without, but, you know, not that much. I mean, my parents knew how to handle themselves. We've always had food on the table. But, I've had to do without, let's say if I wanted, like, well, I'm not even going to say a toy because there are other things I've had to do without. Just, you know, having to use old clothes, hand-me-downs. My mom constantly going to the thrift store to buy things. And, eating very cheap foods. I mean, my parents know how to handle themselves. That's why I'm trying to say I never really had to do without. But like, that's only because my parents know how to, you know, they knew how to handle themselves. They knew how to, you know, I had to do without luxuries, sure, but I mean that's not necessarily doing without, I guess. I don't know. I mean, uh, and I'll have to be honest to a certain extent. Later on in my life, when we could afford to eat better, I feel like as a result of that, it became a part of the reason why there was a long while in time in which I will definitely say I looked kind of fat. You know, I didn't look good. Nowadays, I look great. It's amazing to me how good I look to myself. Like, sure, it's not like, oh, I'm absolutely attracted to myself. No, it's just like I can tell that I look good. And sure, I can see my own, imperfections, but, you know. It's mostly because I know how to take care of myself better. I've been doing a lot of therapy, and it's thanks to me realizing a year ago that I needed help and that I needed to do something about it. Now I'm on two types of medication. I got the one recently, and the other I've had for a while now. The one helps me with my anxiety, and the other helps me to focus. Still, still is a bitch to focus, but you know, what can you do? You can't always get what you want. I just all I want is for people to be happy. I feel like in the end that's all I really want. I want people to be happy. I want people to live together. And I want to love people. I want to love people so much. But it's so hard. It's so hard. It really is. People in general make it really hard to like them. And a lot of times they'll do it on purpose. They don't want to be liked. And I can understand that. Really, I do. It just. I feel like this all just stems from me personally believing that this is my only chance to prove myself. This is my only life. This is my only thing. This is all I have. You know? And I just want to show people that I can be the best. I want to show my God. And to a certain extent, I want to make myself feel better. You know? This is a bit, I'm not gonna lie, this is a bit selfish, but you know what? Fuck all. I'm going to be as selfish as I can. But at the same time, I want to be considerate for other people. I'll do what's best for me. But and doing what's best for me means, to me, being good to people. Because I don't think I could live with myself if I was deliberately a shit face to people. And if, and the thing is, right, I have been a shit face to people, and it's hard. I've had to come to forgive myself for all those times I've been a real shit face and a real douchebag. It's really hard. You know? I think for now I'm just gonna leave it at that for rambling. But yeah. I would really appreciate anything y'all have to say. Even if you got hate to say, I don't care. Just leave it down. Tell me about it. You know. And from my Tumblr, you can just send me an ask or whatever, DM me. I don't care. If you want to leave a comment, I'll definitely answer it. I've answered every single comment I've ever gotten. Oh yeah, and I'd like to make a quick shout out. Quick shout out to a boy, the absolute fucking madman, Bugsy McCoy. Bugsy McCoy, if you're hearing this, man, I'm sorry it's been so long. Keep it up, man. Proud of you, man. Really am. You're a cool dude. I'm gonna sign off now. Bye-bye.